Krishna.
Hare Krishna, sir.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. So let us start.
Yes, sir.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, sir.
नमो ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पश्चात देश तारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna. Pranam to all devotees. Welcome all of you to our Bhagavad Gita as it is reading session. So yesterday we had started with setting the scene. So we will be starting from, so we ended here. So Pandavas were sent to exile for 13 years. So from there onwards we will start. Yeah, so before this, I'm thinking that let us go through a quick overview of the Kuru dynasty, So some of you might have known, but maybe it will be a quick recap. Now, Kuru family, basically all the Pandavas and Kauravas, they also belongs to the Kuru dynasty. Kuru, in this lineage, Kuru was a famous king, and from his name, this lineage is named as Kuru dynasty, and in that lineage also King Bharata was there, and from whose name, this Bharatvarsha was named, and Mahabharat, because it's a big war. And all the kings all over the Bharatvarsha we are participated in it, so that's the reason this epic was called Mahabharata. And Santanu, happens to be a pious king in this Kuru dynasty. I will quickly go through just to, because many names will come so that you can relate who is who, that is important. So Santanu get married to Ganga, and from them got birth Bhishma Dev, and Santanu also got married to Satyavati, and from Santanu and Satyavati took birth Vichitra Virya and Chitrangada. Chitrangada died in early age, and Vichitra Virya got married to two queen, Ambika and Ambalika. And Satyavati, before her marriage to Santanu, she has also, on the request of Parasar Muni, because that time was very auspicious, and Satyavati happens to be a Matsya Kanya, and then while crossing the river, then Parasar Muni kind of could sign a auspicious moment, and that time they united together, and Vyasadev took birth. Vyasadev is the literary incarnation of the Supreme Lord. So who put forward, who kind of, let's say, organized all these Vedas. Earlier Veda used to be one, and he has organized into them four. So Vyasa means divide. In the Sanskrit, Vyasa means divide. So he has organized all the Vedic text, and then he has compiled all these 18 Puranas, 108 prominent Upanishads, all this gamut of Vedic knowledge, So he is the literary incarnation of Supreme Lord. And he, on the request of Satyavati, after Vichitra Virya got died, because the Kuru dynasty is now kingless, because Bhishma has took a vow that he will not be the king, and he will also not get married, but he will always give the protection to the king who is enthroned in the Kuru dynasty. So on the request of Satyavati, his son Vyasadev united with Ambika and Ambalika. Okay, so from Ambika and Vyasadev came Dhritarashtra, and from Vyasadev and Ambalika came Pandu. So these two child had some deficiency. Dhritarashtra is born blind because Ambika could not, see the glow of Vyasadev. Yeah, she was little frightened, because Vyasadev is a sage, so it was beyond her expectation. So that time, because of that, so Dhritarashtra was blind from the beginning. Okay, and Ambalika basically, at the time of union, Ambalika also was kind of very nervous, or some different bodily symptoms developed in her, so that this Pandu basically he was pale from birth. Okay, so looking at this, Satyavati was not so happy, so he requested Vyasadeva again to unite with Ambika and Ambalika, but that time these two queen they didn't took part. Instead they sent a Dasi, and then from Dasi took birth Vidura. But this Dasi, he has united with Vyasadeva with a lot of awe and reverence, with great respect. So the Vidura was very intelligent and very pious and very learned. Okay, but because of his being Dasiputra, so although he was able to be a king, he has all the necessary good qualities, but because of his son of Dasi, so he was not considered king. Dhritarashtra supposed to be the king because he is the eldest, but because of his blindness, so best among these three is Pandu. So he elected as the king, and Pandu got married to two queen, Kunti and Madri. So from Kunti, Pandu has begetted three sons: Yudhishthir, Bhima and Arjun, and Madri, through Madri, Nakula and Sahadev. Of course, there are other stories, other details, like Queen Kunti at her teen age served Durvasa. Kunti was, the daughter of Kunti Bhoj. So she has served very nicely, says Durvasa, and from Durvasa she got a boon, whatever divine personality she kind of call, okay, they can come. Okay, she can invoke, even Suryadev, Vayudev. So from Dharmaraj, from Suryadev, and this Karna took birth, from Dharmaraj, Yudhishthir, and from Vayu, Bhima, and from Indra, Arjuna, and similarly Ashwini Kumar, Nakula and Sahadev. Okay, so these are the details. Maybe some other time we can discuss. So Karna took birth before Kunti married to Pandu. So that's the reason it is kind of Karna is half brother to all of them. Because the Karna is not having same mother and father as the Pandavas. Okay, although he is the brother of Pandavas. Okay, and on the other side, Dhritarashtra get married to Gandhari, and from her he beget 100 sons. Okay, and and Sakuni, he is also a very important character in Mahabharata. So he is the brother of Gandhari. So he played, the villain role. So he was more crooked. So he helped this Kauravas, and in fact he kind of sowed the seed of envy and all this greed, and hatredness towards the Pandavas in the heart of Kauravas. And all these five sons of Pandu, they named as Pandavas, although they belong to the same Kuru dynasty, they can be also called Kauravas. But Dhritarashtra, because of his partiality, he only named his sons as Kauravas, or addressed his sons as Kauravas, and Pandu's sons are Pandavas. Yeah. So as if they belong to some other dynasty. Yeah. And all the five sons of Pandu, they married to Draupadi, and Arjuna, Arjuna also had another queen, Subhadra. Okay, Subhadra is sister of Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. Sri Krishna at that time, he was also doing his pastimes. Yeah, he was a king in Dwarka. Okay. Lord Supreme Lord Krishna and his elder brother Lord Balaram. Okay, both these supreme personality have taken birth that time, and from their sister Subhadra, Arjuna got married, and from Arjuna and Subhadra took birth Abhimanyu. Okay, and Abhimanyu married Uttara, and from them took birth Parikshit Maharaj. Okay, Parikshit Maharaj. So basically, he was a very virtuous and pious king. After Pandava departed, Parikshit basically ruled the Bharatavarsha. Okay, in fact, he was the emperor of the whole world that point in time, and he was very pious, virtuous, great devotee of Supreme Lord Krishna. And basically, it is whom Supreme Lord Krishna protected while he was in the womb of Uttara. Because after the Mahabharata war was over, Ashwasthama tried to kill, the any higher of Pandavas, So he was kind of with a great revenge. He tried to do that, but he could not. So Supreme Lord protected him in the womb of Uttara, and he ruled for quite a number of period, and from him basically came Janmejaya. And it is this Janmejaya, who was in a discussions with sage Vaisampayan. Okay, the conversation between Janmejaya and Vaisampayan is nothing but the Mahabharata. Okay, Vaisampayan was narrating the whole story to Janmejaya. Okay. And Parikshit Maharaj, was cursed to die by the son of Sramika Muni, that was Sringi, and then Parikshit Maharaj, renounced the kingdom, and he went and sat near the shore of Ganga and fasted for 7 days, 7 nights. And at that time, Sukadev Goswami happens to arrive there, and then the conversation between Parikshit Maharaj and Sukadev Goswami is nothing but Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is how, and in Mahabharata, as we discussed yesterday, Bhagavad Gita is part of Mahabharata. Okay, and this Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, these are the supreme most text. Okay, which basically encompasses all the conclusions of Vedic knowledge. Okay, good. So let's go to our listing. We ended here yesterday. We will begin from. Upon returning from exile, the Pandavas rightfully requested their kingdom from Duryodhana, who bluntly refused to yield it. Duty bound as princes to serve in public administration, the 5 Pandavas reduced their request to a mere 5 villages. But Duryodhana arrogantly replied that he wouldn't spare them enough land into which to drive a pin. Even. Pandavas tried all these possibility to avoid the war. They are very virtuous. After returning from the exile, they asked to return their kingdom, but Duryodhana didn't. But then Pandavas are settled with, because we are Kshatriyas, we had to rule, otherwise by our varna, okay, by our class of the society, we had to do some administration kind of role. Okay, please give us 5 villages only. Okay, please give us 5 villages only. But that even Duryodhan didn't give. Duryodhan told, he was so arrogant that, oh, what to speak of 5 villages? I will not also give you even a part of land, which can be occupied by the tip of the needle. So he was so arrogant. Then war seems inevitable. Throughout all this, Pandavas had been consistently tolerant and forbearing. But now war seems inevitable. Pandavas were tolerant and forbearing. How? Because, like yesterday we had read that Duryodhana has planned to kill Pandavas. Okay, he has taken various attempts, but then Pandava didn't revolted. Pandavas kind of tried to save them. They didn't attack back. But then time and again, and yesterday also we had seen how Duryodhana has reaped, by this gambling match and cheated, and took all their possessions. Okay, even they also tried to disrobe Draupadi. Such a heinous act. So they were very cruel. But now war seems inevitable. Nonetheless, as the princes of the world divided, some siding with the sons of Dhritarashtra, others with the Pandavas, Krishna himself took the role of messenger for the sons of Pandu and went to the court of Dhritarashtra to plead for peace. When his pleas were refused, war was now certain. What was humanly possible, that has been done by the Pandavas, and whatever is divinely possible, that has been tried by Supreme Lord himself, Krishna. Okay, Supreme Lord himself, took the role of a messenger and went for peace settlement. But still Duryodhana denied this. This story, right? It came in Mahabharata. How Duryodhana has chastised Lord Sri Krishna and tried to put him in jail, and Sri Krishna has shown him the Vishwarupa. The Pandavas, men of the highest moral stature, recognized Krishna to be the supreme personality of Godhead, whereas the impious sons of Dhritarashtra didn't. Yet Krishna offered to enter the war according to the desire of the antagonist. While Supreme Lord himself was there, even the virtuous Pandavas, they recognize Krishna as Supreme Lord, but the impious sons of Dhritarashtra, like Duryodhana and his party, they could not. Krishna himself speaks in Bhagavad Gita, avajananti mam mudha. Mudha cannot understand me, who are less intelligent. 9.11, this sloka comes. And in 18.55, Krishna tells, bhaktya mam abhijananti. Who are my devotees, they can know me. So even when Lord was himself present, people were not all the people were recognizing him. So it's with the devotion only we can know the Supreme Lord. Yet Krishna offered to enter the war according to the desire of the antagonist. As God, he would not personally fight, but whoever so desired might avail himself of Krishna's army. And the other side could have Krishna himself as an advisor and helper. When both the antagonists approach, Krishna, that, oh, you please, now war is inevitable, war is going to happen, so you please support us. Okay, so it's also a big pastimes involved here, so we'll not go in detail. So Duryodhana happens to took, the army of Krishna. Krishna has told, okay, I can divide two kind of boons. One side will take my army, okay, Narayani Sena, because it was very valiant and powerful that time. Okay, and other side will take me as an advisor or helper. Okay, so like Pandavas were very dear and virtuous. So Pandavas, in fact, Duryodhana has given the first choice to decide. But he took Narayani Sena. Okay, Krishna's armed forces. Okay, and whereas Pandavas, they were eager to have Krishna on their side, and they got, yeah, they got the support of Krishna. Okay, so Krishna played the chariot driver. Okay, so in this way, Krishna became the charioteer of Arjuna, taking it upon himself to drive the fabled bowman's chariot. This brings us to the point at which Bhagavad Gita begins. With the two armies arrayed, ready for combat, and Dhritarashtra anxiously inquiring of his secretary Sanjay, what did they do? So this is where, Bhagavad Gita will begin. Yeah. So Krishna earlier took the role of a messenger for the Pandavas, and now he is taking the role of a charioteer. You see, such a menial task, he was not hesitating to do for his devotee. So this is what the Supreme Lord is. So if we approach him with devotion, he also reciprocates with the same feeling. Yeah. Yathamam prapadyante tam tathaiva bhajamyaham. So yes, let's go to next. The scene is set with only the need for a brief note regarding this translation and commentary. Okay. So Srila Prabhupada is writing, okay, now I have set the scene, now we'll proceed further. Okay, before that, let me give some comments to this particular translation and commentary about his work, what he is emphasizing. Let's see. The general pattern translators have followed in rendering Bhagavad Gita into English has been to brush aside the person Krishna to make room for their own concepts and philosophies. Prabhupada is telling that there are hundreds of translations available for Bhagavad Gita, but most of these, what they have done, they have brushed aside the person Krishna, just to make their own point, because it's such a great and novelous, religion text. Most of the verses are just illuminating, but we have to see this as a complete flow, what really Krishna wants to speak. Okay, but all these translators, Prabhupada is telling that they have just made the room of their own concepts and philosophies. Okay, they brush aside the person Krishna, but it's not like that. Krishna is the both goal and substance of Bhagavad Gita. What he is intending to speak, that has to be brought to the readers. Okay, not that translators should put their own points. So the history of the Mahabharata is taken as quaint mythology, and Krishna becomes a poetic device for representing the ideas of some anonymous genius, or at best he becomes a minor historical personage. So that was the mood and mindset of other translators. They interpret that, oh, Mahabharata, it's a quaint mythology, because many of the things were not imaginable at present. Oh, how come one Akshayani can have 21,000 approximately, chariots, elephants, and so many horses, and a Maharathi can fight with 1,000 soldiers. So how come this seems imaginary? No, and here that's not the case. Any imaginary story cannot prolong for 5,000 years. So that has the element of reality in that. So there are many things what our human mind cannot comprehend, but that doesn't mean that all these are imaginary. So that has took place. Okay, there are historical evidences to it, but other translators, they take this as a mythology. It's a wonderful mythological compositions, and in that they claim that Krishna, he, of course, he is a genius, because how come anyone any ordinary person speak Bhagavad Gita, such a wonderful philosophy? Oh, we think that he is an anonymous genius. He could be a great historical personage. Okay, but my dear, it's not like that. He is the Supreme Lord himself. Okay. So yeah, but the person Krishna is both, this Srila Prabhupada is stating, but the person Krishna is both the goal and the substance of Bhagavad Gita, so far as the Gita speaks of itself. Okay, so Bhagavad Gita, thus goal and substance, because Bhagavad Gita translation should be in such a way that it should guide the reader to Krishna only, because he is the goal. And substance means what Krishna is intending to speak, that has to be brought out, not that your own philosophical conclusions. This translation then and the commentary that accompanies it proposed to direct the reader to Krishna rather than away from him. So this work of Srila Prabhupada, basically whoever will read this translation, he will be directed to the Krishna. He will develop a devotion towards Krishna. Okay, by reading this book, okay, many people got converted, they surrendered to Krishna and they became devotee. Okay, that is the basic success of this translation. The Bhagavad Gita thus becomes wholly consistent and comprehensible. Since Krishna is the speaker of the Gita and its ultimate goal as well, the Bhagavad Gita as it is presents this great scripture in its true terms. So there is no any adulterations. Okay, there is no any twist and squeezing of any of the words or any of the verses. So Srila Prabhupada, and that's the reason he named this as Bhagavad Gita as it is. So whatever Krishna is trying to speak, those meanings are illuminated in this work. Okay, that's the reason we choose to read Bhagavad Gita as it is. So this comes to an end of setting the scene, and time is also up. So we are stopping here. Okay, Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.